Okay, so I'm just gonna go to Photoshop here, just because I want to talk about these parts to make sure they're not confusing to people. All right, so if we look at the staff, we know we're doing the smooth one from here, but we've got this little shape thing here. So the shape of that will be kind of like this. I'm drawing with a mouse, so give me some benefit of the doubt. The shape of it's kind of like a little tapered cone thingy, right? Oh my god. And we know that in polygons we need to have verts, and you can only ever have straight edges between the verts. So in order to do something like this, I need to have something that's straight, and probably has to have a segment here because it needs to, have an angle change here, and then straight down, stuff like that. So the way I'd probably do that is I'd probably start with a cylinder and extrude out the bits, if that makes sense. Okay, so let me just show you in Max. Hopefully it makes more sense there. So let's say I start with another cylinder, and it's okay to make it big so you can manipulate it easier and then scale it down later. So if I make that cylinder here, and again, either right click, convert to editable poly, or just add an edit poly in the modifier. So I don't need, do I need the top and the bottom? I do need them because they're going to be seen. So I'm going to scale out this part first, like so. Just scale up that, delete that, and grab the border, because that's a border now. And if I hold shift, sorry? What would you say? Yeah, I just reduced them. Alright, so if I grab the border and hold shift, you see the way it scales up? And add some more polygons, and I can do that. I can move them up. So now I'm creating that little lip shape on the side here. There's like a little tiny lip here. Cool, I've got that. And what took so long?
Food Monkey was a lot busier than expected.
This is your coffee.
Thank you.
Apologies.
The chocolate.
Cheers.
Thank you.
So scaled it up there and moved it up a little bit more, and that's basically the shape that I want, more or less. Is that okay?
Where is the segment count? Sorry.
What do you mean, where's the segment count? That was when it was still a cylinder.
Yeah.
When it's still a cylinder, control the segment count, and then I convert it to editable poly. Once you convert to editable poly, you can't change the segment count without individually selecting them and deleting them. It really doesn't matter as long as it looks good to your eye. Like, it's not an exact science kind of thing. Like, literally the answer is enough so it doesn't look like a box, and not too much so we're using too many buttons. Like, just enough so it looks okay. Because it's going to be small, so it doesn't have to be super high segments. You'll kind of get used to how many to use. The more you create models, you'll kind of understand. There's no actual, it must be exactly 12 segments. It's not like that. It's like drawing. No one ever says draw a curve of exactly 110 degrees. Like, you just go draw a curve. I got defective Yorkie. Okay, once I get to the top, I need to close this hole. So, does anyone remember what it is for closing hole? If I grab the border, I can cap it. And now I have a problem again, because this polygon and these polygons are not quads. Okay? You see the way it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. It's got 9 sides, so it's not a quad. It's an n-gon. It's a polygon with more than 4 sides. So I need to convert this to something that has quads, or at the very least tris. So how do I convert that? You can manually grab the edge, the vertex, like here and here, and connect them. Connect. And now this one's a quad, see? Just this one is a quad. Because I've connected those 2 vertices. So now it's 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. And I'll just keep doing that until I get all of them to become quads. Connect, they're a quad. And I end up with 1 tri over here, but that's okay. So there's quads, 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 and tri. So, okay? Yeah? I'm going to close the door because
Sorry, guys. Just
Yo.
connect. Yeah.
select the 2 vertices,
Yeah.
and there's a connect here.
Oh.
Or right click, there should be a connect as well. Connect. Oh, we're so noisy.
So,
And then once you've created the shape and you're happy with it, go back to create, so you're not selecting it again, and you can just scale it down and move it to where you want it to be. Has everyone got that shape? Or like close to getting that shape? Okay, I just want to cover a couple other things, and you're gonna have to work on this between this week and next week to finish it off. But I need to show you how to make the top bit, the complicated part.
and we do the
What? But you do need to connect it to make sure it's quads. You do need to connect it to make sure it's quads.
yes, bottom.
Yeah. They need to make sure they're all quads, or tries at least. Was it on screen? Is it recording? Yes, it is. What? Is that okay?
So are we making the first stuff or the...
So we're making the third stuff, but we're just for the cylinder part, because you know the way the pole is all twirly in the third one. We're just using a smooth pole. The fourth, sorry. The fourth. The stuff of twisting wheels, except ours is not twisting. I told you the first one would be way easier. It's even symmetrical though. What? It's gonna be... Woo. You're gonna... Yeah, it's gonna be great. Great crack. Okay, it's 10:30 now. Alright, so what I'm gonna have to do is I'll probably have to blast through the next few bits, but it'll be on the video, and I'll probably have to put that up, and you'll have to follow that for next week. You need to have the staff model for next week. Is that okay?
Yep.
Alright. Everyone okay? Can I begin? Can Do you want me to wait like another couple minutes? No, I can do it. Fine, I'll wait a couple minutes. Kiss a harbo. Just chuck one out.
Any preferences?
I like cola bottles, but everyone likes cola bottles, so it's not fair. I couldn't. Sun was in my eyes. Actually was.
Let's go catch bears.
I quite like that. Okay, Robin?
How do I do that? How do I sign off?
No, she made one. So the whole put it back on page.
This one?
Yeah. And then we put the whole thing. Just put it back there.
Oh, no, you're moving ahead.
Yeah. Oh, so not close. Yeah. How do you have the I-7 book? How do you have on the I-7 book? Okay. Just you have to manually remove. Oh, yeah, no, I don't think it's Okay, so if it's okay, I'll just blast over the next few bits, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing and understand when you go back and just complete the whole thing on yourself. So if I look at the staff that we're creating, right, the most complex part are these top bits here. These are by far the most complicated ones, and this little crescent here. So I'll deal with them in a certain way. But first of all, let me just look at that cylinder. So I've made the shape-ish to what I want it to be. But you see the way it's kind of, this part's all smooth and this part isn't? Let me just turn off the edge faces. You can see it even more clearly. This is all smooth and these parts are not. Right? Which, when I go into Unity, it's going to look like that, which is not what I want. So if I click on it and I have Edible Poly on, Edible Poly is on. Make sure I have select stuff. And I can select the polygons that I want to be smooth next to each other. By default, this is you see these? They're all 4. When I click on them, under smoothing groups, it says 4. I can go here and set them to 4 as well. The problem is, if I set them to 4, they'll be smooth with each other. So anything that's 4 will be smooth with 4. Maybe that's what I want. If I want a little border here, I might need to set them to a different number. So instead of 4, I'll set them to like 3. Doesn't really matter what the number is. But you see the way now they have a little edge in between? You see that? So all the 4s are smooth with all the other 4s, and all the 3s are smooth with all the other 3s. But 3s and 4s next to each other are not smooth with each other. Okay? And then up here, I can go back to 4s if I want to. Go back to 4s, because then smooth, edge, smooth, edge, smooth. Cool? So that's how smoothing groups work. You can also multiply the smoothing groups. So let me just change the top bit. I'll change that to 2, okay? So now it's 2 here, it's 3 here, and it's 4 here. All of these are 2, all of these are 3, all of these are 4. And it still looks the same, because 2s are smooth with 2s, 3s are smooth with 3s, 4s are smooth with 4s. But between each other, they have a little crease. What I can do is, say I want this part to be smooth with 4, but not smooth with 2. It's on 3 now, right? I can make them 3 and 4. So now the 3 is smooth with the 4, but it's not smooth with the 2. Does that kind of make sense? So sometimes you may need that. You may need to stuff with multiple polys. But most of the time, you should just have one, and they should be separated away. Cool. Shift Q. Shift Q. Shift Q. Okay, so once I have this, that's fine. You know the smoothing group stuff, that's good. Let's have a look at the rest of the model. So I know this is a sphere, this sphere. I just need literally one sphere. I just need to make one, and that's fine. I already have one at the bottom, this one, so I can just copy that. That's okay. I know I need a blue sphere, so I just need to, that one sphere I have in the bottom, I'll just copy it. So I'll have 2 spheres. One of them will be blue, one of them will be gray. These are going to be little cylinders, like similar to the way I made these, but way more squashed. I could even copy it, to be honest, and then squish it down. And then this is kind of like a little cylinder. The rings, you can either do something called a torus. Torus looks like this. Oh boy. Yeah, well, that kind of way. They look like this, and then you can change like what the radius is and how many segments it has and stuff, and how cheap it is. What? Flatten it?
Yeah.
What do you mean by flatten it? Like squash it down? Oh, well, if I wanted it to be, oh, you mean like a cylinder and then like chopped kind of thing?
I mean like really pointy on the corners.
Oh, that's a different thing. That's a cone. You probably want 2 cones. Like a cone is like so. And you probably want 2 of those. Is that what you mean?
I know what you mean. You mean like make it so that's the head of the sphere.
Yeah.
You want the outer bits to be like pointy. So
Yeah.
what if you just see if you go into like vertices?
So I change it to editable poly. Go into vertices and
So like all the ones in the middle row.
everyone in the middle row.
Yeah, and drag
Okay, wait, I'm just gonna look at it from the side. Like this, and then like squish them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly it.
Oh shit, I selected the center accidentally. So you gotta be careful. I'll probably use edge and do something called a loop, and loops all the way around. And if you hold control and vertex, control and click, it converts whatever selection you have to the other selection. So I was selecting edges. If I hold control and click vertex, it selects all the vertices that were on those edges. So then I can do what you wanted. And
Yeah, like that.
okay, cool. Yeah, so you can do that. But you need to convert it to editable poly first to edit. So that's like, I just need one of these really, because then I can unwrap and there can be all of these. Because they're all the same, aren't they? They're all gray. There's different sizes. Yeah, they're all the same. So I just really need one of them. That makes sense? Now the biggest one is this fecker over here. This fella's really hard. I'm in 2 minds of whether to show you how to do it or to wait till next week until you finish all the rest. It would be done with splines. It's not that hard, so okay. I'm gonna make just a copy of this one, and I'll put it. Do I need a copy? I can do it flat. No, it's fine. I'll do it side on. Hopefully, the only thing with splines is, so I don't know if you remember, to swap between perspective camera and the orthographic camera is P and U. So that's U orthographic and P is perspective. When I'm making a spline, I need to be exactly looking either directly down or directly up or directly right or left or front or back. It must be in one axis. I'll show you why it needs to be. So I'm going to make a spline. They're under shapes, and line is the basic one. And the way they work is you just click and it creates a point. See it that way? And I'm just creating points. Oop. Just backspace to go back. And I'm creating a point and point and point. And the problem, why I need there, if I click back to the original, it says close spline, yes, and I create a shape. The reason why I need to look exactly side on, because if I rotate this now, you see what's happened? It's gone miles away, okay? Because I'm looking at it like a perspective view, so when I think I'm clicking a little bit up, I'm actually clicking way off in the distance. Does that make sense? You want the orthographic. So I'm going to go to orthographic, but not only that, I want to click on this little box. See, this says front here. You can also hit like F to go to front, and then change that to orthographic, and turn off wireframe. Okay, so I'm looking directly on. Okay, so here, you can also Google how to turn back on your box. It's pretty easy. So I'm looking directly front on now. It doesn't matter if you're looking front, left, right, bottom, up. It doesn't matter as long as there's one axis. I'm looking directly at this, and what I'm going to do with this line, I'm just going to trace this shape. Now be careful. Anyone used the pen tool in Photoshop before? Yeah, okay. So the pen tool is pretty great. It's very similar to the pen tool. If I click a point, and I click another point, and if I do that, it curves. But the problem with that is, it adds a ton of little segments in here whenever I curve. Okay, so in Photoshop that's fine because you'll just like fill it in with a picture or whatever. In 3ds Max specifically, my opinion is that you shouldn't, like, and it's just my opinion, you shouldn't do those curves because you don't really have a control over how many segments it starts adding to those curves. So the way I would do it is, I would add, and I know this is a bit hard to see because the white background is white. I'd go like click, and then I know this is going to turn, so I'll be like click, 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 and I've got that curve, but I controlled exactly how many segments I want there to be. And then I just need to go all the way around. Again, if you make a mistake, just backspace. And let's see if I can do this real quick. It's going to be a little messy, but I'll just do it quickly. Bless you. Cool. There. And try and keep both sides the same amount of poly. So you see the way I've got a dot here and a dot here and a dot here and a dot here. Try to keep them kind of like equal because it will be easier in the long run. I'll explain why. You'll see why in a second. I'm trying to follow the amount of vertices here as well. So this one here, this one there, this one there, this one there, this one there. And sometimes you can't, like there's loads here, so I can just finish it, it's fine. But you just generally try and keep them even. Cool, I'm just going to hide the image now, just so you can see that the shape is like that. Cool? Alright, and what I can do then, once I have that spline, the shape is fine, I can go to the line modifier, and there is a modifier called Extrude. Boop. And the amount you, the amount you extrude like controls how far it extrudes up. And you can, of course, as always, type in here. I probably want it to be less than that. 0.03? Is that still too thick? Maybe a bit too thick. 1. Cool. So I've got like that really thin shape. Or alternatively, I can make it like 0.3 and then do the same thing, edit poly, what we did before, where you kind of like expanded it so it looked like a blade. I'll show you now. Edit poly. I'm going to do an edge selection, and before I did loop will select all the edges in a row in the edge loop. I'm going to do ring that will select all of them this way. Does that make sense? Like stacked away from each other. And if I connect them, it draws a line between all of them that I can then expand like so. Cool. All right. So once I have that, that's almost good. Except what's the problem with this? This one? Yeah, the inside ones. Yeah, I can grab those and scale them back in. That's okay. But what's the bigger problem with this? Does anyone see? There's a giant problem with this. What? I got a huge n-gon here. This fella is not a quad at all. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, who knows how many sides. It's got loads of sides. That's an n-gon. That will... It's not too bad because it's flat, and usually you can get away-ish with flat n-gons, but it is not good practice. And if a experienced 3D modeler sees you just make this stuff, they kind of know you're an amateur. Like you didn't bother to fix this. So again, same thing. Just literally just grab those and connect, and connect, and connect. Now, you may be thinking, this is dark because I need to do this side and then I need to do the other side as well. But
When you press here for like the box with connection, you just click on
right click and just connect. Just right click. So you see the way, that's why I was saying to try and make them equal, because I can just do this, like kind of connect them a size from each other. Oh, wait. What? What? I heard like there's a trick. Be careful. Be careful with tricks. If there's tricks that work, fine. If there's a trick that's not really... What's the trick?
It's not a trick, it just is using cut just to cut across.
No. And I'll tell you why. The cut does work, but you have to be really... So cut's this. Cut is like you click, and then you can click there, and it's the same as a connect, which is fine, except that you can also do this with a cut, right? So you see the way it's on the edge? I can click and create a new vertex and go to the edge. And why that's a problem is if I hover over this vertex, click, and I don't hit exactly the other vertex, if I go a little bit off, it looks like I fixed. I did it really badly just to show you. It looks like I connected it, but actually I made a new vertex there. Okay, so it's a bit dodgy. Cut is useful for a lot of things, but for something like this, if you just select the two vertices and connect, there's no way you're making an extra vertex accidentally.
So you just click on one and then right click on the other.
Control click the other. Click one, control click to select both of them, right click to connect both of them. Okay? So I'm basically nearly finished here. Okay, cool. So I've done all this side, and then I have to do this side. But instead of doing both sides one by one, it's a bit awkward and effort. I'm just going to delete that side and go back to select this side. So the way I'll select it is I'll select everything here, and then I'll deselect these, and that has this selected. Does that make sense? Cool. And then I'm going to move that. Hold shift and move to copy it. Awesome. Clone to element, because I want it to still be part of the same element. So perfect. And I just need to put this here using the snap tool. So remember, turn on snap. I'm just going to right click to make sure I snap by vertex, which means I can hover over this vertex and snap it to that vertex. Awesome. Does anyone see a problem here? Or is this, It's not connected. That's problem number one. Problem number two. I copied directly from here. Remember, polygons are one-sided.
Yeah.
So this guy is backwards, and if you render, you'll see it. See? It's backwards. So what I need to do is select it, and there is just flip. Flip just flips them the other way around. So now that should be fine. So what's an element and what's an object?
Quick text. I don't know.
An object is a collection of elements. So if you want it to be the same object, what do you need to clone it to? An element, because if you want it to be an element of that original object. Okay, so as Michael said, though, this is not fully complete yet because it's still not connected. And you can see when I move it, it's still not snapped together. Again, sometimes this is okay, depending on the rendering software. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes you may get issues. With animation, you'll definitely get issues because then they'll deform and then there'll be like holes in it. So we need to snap them together. I'm going to look at it from the side again. I'm going to grab all the vertices here. Boop. And what I'm going to do is a thing called Weld. Oh, there's a missed one here. I need to connect that. Oh, yeah, I missed it here as well. Okay. I need to do a thing called Weld. I can open the settings for Weld, and you see the way it's like it's welding too much. And what Weld does, if two vertices are here, it says that first setting, it says 0.1 meter. So any other vertex from the selected vertex I have within 0.1 meter will get snapped together and they'll weld. So my first setting is too big. It's grabbing too many things and welding them. So if I make that like 0.01, okay, they should be welding. I can't really tell, but I'll click yes. They should be welding together now. And if I move that out to tests, awesome, they're welded. Okay, so like, yeah, so every vertex you select will check in that setting of how far and weld anything that's in that setting towards each other. And because mine was so close to each other, 0.01 was fine and they welded together. They're now snipped together. And I just need to fix that part here. Connect, and the same part. I missed that part. Cool, so I literally have that. And then the rest of it, like, that's a sphere. The little teardrop thing is, you can do I'm going to show you. This is a little advanced for you, but I'll show it for you anyway. If I have a sphere, again, convert to editable poly, and now I'm going to do this thing called a soft select. So I'm going to select one of the vertices, and normally when I pull the vertices up, it just pulls that one, right? But if I have the thing called a soft select down here, use soft selection, and the fall off is like how far it affects. It's kind of like a heat map. Come on, buddy. Okay, so you can see it's not going to affect this really strongly and this really weak. So if I pull that up, I kind of get like a teardrop shape because it's kind of pulling all the rest, but not as much as the original one that I'm selecting. And you can control the shape here as well. See where it says the pinch, so I can do that, and it should pinch it now. Yeah, it's a lot more like a teardrop shape. So it's controlled by here on the pinch and the bubble. The what? The chain. Oh, those are loads of little Tauruses. We did the Taurus already.
Oh, okay.
So it's just one Taurus. We just do one because later after we unwrap it, we can just copy it to make a chain. Okay. Let me just see if there's anything else. This diamond thingy-majig. Oh boy. I'm just trying to think what the best way is right now. Oh man. Do you know what? Leave the diamond because I'm going to have a look at it and figure out what the best diamond way is. The cheapest way is like, super cheap way is like a cylinder with one height segment and then go to edit poly and grab all the center ones. Scale that out. You see the way it's kind of like a gem?
Yeah.
And the problem is that it's smooth. They're smooth with each other. So instead of like adding a smoothing group, I'm going to go down to smoothing groups and clear all. It's removing every single smoothing group. And now it looks kind of like a gem. It's like a super cheap way to do it, but it works.
You see the actual poly, you see where the chains are turning out like holes?
Okay, ignore the holes now. Okay, let's not with the holes. There are ways, but like let's not for now. Okay, so I think that's all you need. Am I missing anything? Does anyone see anything that I'm missing that you wouldn't know how to create on this? The spline will give you all of these. The gem we kind of did a cheap version. That's like spline, cylinder. This we're doing a smooth. This we're doing the cylinder thingy, and a little sphere. The little ink cuts are weird. You can model them. I would say we'll just do them as part of the texture, just for now. Okay. Any questions on that? So what I need is for this model to be completed by next week, because then we can go to unwrapping. Is that okay? Okay, so that's homework for this week. Just make sure it's completed. Yes, I'll do it now. If it's, let me just turn this off. OBS, come on, buddy.